How you guys doing? Welcome again to another fabulous show of Violence Interrupters. I am your host today, Pete Eson Keller, and I have with me my co-host, Lamon Record.
Yes,
Record.
Yes,
All right.
Thank you for
How you
having
been,
me.
brother?
Doing good.
Okay, that's what's up. So
good.
listen, today we're going to be tackling the youth. We really want to discuss some of the things that the youth can do to get involved with our movement. As you know, Lamon and I are always out here on the streets fighting a good struggle. You can get in touch with us. You can also go to Violence Interrupters. You can reach us at tohardiman.com. That's www.tohardiman, HARDIMAN.com. And feel free to call in tonight. The number is 312-738-1060. All right, this is Violence Interrupters, not-for-profit organization. And let's kick it off. So, what about last weekend? It seems like a lot of deaths were going on and the streets were on fire. What did you take of that, Lamon?
It was a lot, you know, and to see our young people get gunned down every single day and getting shot every single day, you know, it saddens my heart because it's starting to make me think that could have been me. You know, I could have actually been Laquan McDonald that was getting shot 16 times by the police, or I could have been any other young person that got gunned down in the past to any gangbanger in Chicago. But then again, you want people to start thinking strategically and be mindful that we're up to over 1,000 people shot, and if I'm not mistaken, more than 300 killed. Is it not the police behind many of the shootings in our city? But then we got a governor that drop off guns in our communities and we can't control it.
Right. So, I mean, those are some of the things that, you know what I'm saying, we do need to be tackled. When you see us out on the streets, feel free to talk to us and make sure that you understand that this is our job, so we're here for you. If anybody's looking for any type of jobs, they got an X on their back, get up with us. My website is www.ulon.us. We're out here, Ulon is on the streets, you know what I'm saying? And we're in conjunction with Violence Interrupters as well as Friends for Life, you know, Resource Center. So there's a lot of things that are going on. So first, let's talk about basically what is it the youth can do, Lamon. I noticed, and just to let you guys know, Lamon was the one who had that standoff with that officer to kind of put him on the map. That picture with him staring at that officer kind of went globally, nationally, and it kind of represented a lot. It said a lot about the youth. So, real quick, what did you get out of that incident?
That incident, it gave me a platform. You know, for me only being 17 years old, it gave me a productive and positive platform, not only to speak on behalf of myself, but to speak on behalf of the youth, urban youth in Chicago.
Correct.
But it's important that the youth need to teach each other, because we wonder why we got so many gangbangers or we got so many young people turning to the streets. It's the fact that we don't have a lot of parents taking care of their kids. You know, we don't have a lot of people at home with their kids taking care of their kids and providing for them and protecting them as a child and being parents and doing their jobs. So, you know, just dealing with situations like that, of course it gives young people the mindset to turn to the streets and say, look, this bro now, this gang now, oh, you're my new family, so I'm going to turn to the streets and I'm going to see what I can do and what I can get out of it. Okay. But, you know, just giving a platform for staring down a police officer gave me a good platform to actually speak for the youth and say, look, this is what they need, this is what they want, this is how we're going to go get it, and what's this going to take.
It definitely puts you in a position where people are listening a lot more to the youth and getting the youth involved. So I know the phone lines are blowing up, so we're going to go to the calls real quick. Caller, you're online with us. You there, caller?
Yes, yes. I want to make a couple of points.
Sure.
I certainly do agree with the young man with regard to parenting. There's no amount of resources that we can put into any community that can take the place of parenting. That's simply at the forefront of this issue. Certainly, I mean, we need to invest in schools. We need to invest in infrastructure, create jobs, create things for young people to do. Having said all of that, again, none of that takes the place of parenting. You know, if you have nothing in terms of growing up as a child, but you have a caring, loving family that imbues in you the proper value systems, there's no amount of guns out there in the street that's going to make you pick up a gun and go and shoot somebody because they scuffed up your shoes or disrespected you or did something stupid to you, because you learned that that's simply not a proper response.
That's right.
And unfortunately, you know, we can't just, you know, sort of take all of this and put it on someone else arguing that, well, there's a lot of guns. There's a lot of guns in this country. There's over 200 million guns in America. Yet we have communities where there has not been a shooting in 10 years. Now, there has to be an explanation for that. Yet those communities have guns in them. And the explanation has got to be, then why is it if you have so many guns in one community, you haven't had a shooting, and you have other communities where you've had numerous shootings just in the past weekend? What is it about the two that's differentiated? And part of that simply has to do with, how people regard themselves, how they regard their neighbors and their community. And again, the people who I feel sorry is for when we talk about incarceration and killing and so forth. What we also need to discuss is the imprisonment of the people who live in those communities, people who can't walk out of their homes at night on a nice summer evening because they're afraid, afraid of sitting out on their porch, afraid of being able to walk the streets because they feel like they're in danger because they don't live in a safe community. And that's also something that, it's not just the people who are incarcerated behind bars. Right. Some people are incarcerated in their own homes in this country.
Oh, that's a good point. Right. Thank you very much for that call. Thank you, caller.
I appreciate it.
So, a couple things I'd like to address on that note. Very prevalent that the parents are, and see, this is unique that we have the youth on the show, because me being a parent and him, starting off into the field to where he's going to become, a qualified parent, and having the building blocks of what it takes by being around people like us is very valid. I think that the caller hit it right on the head, because a lot of the crimes wouldn't be committed. Like a young individual is not just going to pick up a gun if his parenting training skills, have been developed at an early age and are connected with the parent at home. Right. That's very true. Now, there's always classic cases where, say for instance, you do all you can, because I get it all the time. I deal with good parents, and I have to go to the Audi home to deal with their children because they just don't know where they went wrong. Exactly. So sometimes it's also giving your kids a little bit too much leniency because they drift to the streets. Right. Not that you didn't do a good job as a parent, but they drift. So what do you think about that, Lamon?
So a lot of people say young people, they need to put the guns down to pick up a book. There's two things wrong with that quote. Say the kids need to put the guns down and pick up a book. The first thing, putting the guns down, like I was saying at first, you have a lot of young people just turning to the streets. It's like, okay, I'm dealing with so many situations. Like personally, me, I lost 11 brothers to gun violence. Lost a best friend to a shot in the back, and I got a name tatted up on the arm. Sorry, just dealing with all them losses. I could have actually challenged my anger, just took it to the streets and say, look, I'm going to pick up a gun and just get to shooting people for no reason because I need to take my anger out.
So what made you not decide to go more of an aggressive approach?
I had to construct my own mindset of doing something positive with that anger. And I said, you know what? I know a lot of young people lose their lives just because of they lost somebody else. And they say, oh, retaliation is the answer. Retaliation is the answer. Oh, you just beat up my sister. Now I'm finna go kill your brother. We need to start getting in these schools and start teaching personal development class and say, look, you need to hold yourself accordingly with respect and say, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not about to escalate the situation. It's time for me to grow up and gain some maturity and say, I don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. And for young people picking up guns, it's time for them to think strategically and think twice. So, if I shoot him, I need to think twice whether I'm going to jail or I'm going to be there. Like, what's going to happen? I'm affecting my future. I'm going to throw my future out the window.
That's very valid. Now, we know that a lot of these young individuals are not dumb because we actually sat down and talked to them. So, what do you think it is, being that you're of the in the youth bracket? What do you think it is that deters, that actually pulls them away to lead their life for crime? Because I know a lot of these kids are really doing well in school. They were really like, straight A students, but something made them veer off to another road of life. So you being a youth, what do you see, like, of your friends or the peers that you're around? What are some of the things that you've seen? Why do they do that?
It's the influence. It's always the influence. Like, people they hang around, especially the music. We got, I'm not even going to get into the music, but it's just like with this generation, it's like monkey see, monkey do. If I'm going to go buy some rocks and some Jordans, she probably do it too, or he going to do it too. And that's just what you see. That's what I see most often. Is like, you just see me doing something, I'm going to go do it myself. But then again, it's just time for us to think, like, what is it that these kids need? Like, what is it that they're demanding? And people say the youth they're dumb and they're stupid. The youth has been neglected by the older generation. And I think the older generation dropped the ball on the youth, on today's generation.
So I agree with that. I will say this, that, I've written a book called Cross the Bridge. And one of the chapters deals with why the inner city, the urban black, and brown families kind of drifted off. And a lot of that dealt with, and from what we know, being on the streets and me having a past life of the streets, one of the biggest influence was when drugs hit the scene in the 80s as far as crack. Because what happened was when the powers that be kind of flooded the inner, city with it, the urban area, is that a lot of the families lost their morals, the fathers and the mothers. And so if you're what we call chasing Jason, if you're out here trying to, cop another rock, and you're doing by all means necessary, because remember, at that point, nobody knew what was going to happen before. It used to be a rich man's high, poor man's dream. No one knew that, okay, you're going to be doing this, and you're going to be having, people are going to take advantage of you, and you're going to be losing your rent, you're going to be losing your life, because you're going to put everything that you had on the controlled substance. So now, if my parents are out here doing crazy stuff for drugs, for crack, and I'm selling it, I don't have a problem selling it to your parents. You see what I'm saying? Because my parents are already influenced. So why not, sell it to your parents? Why not sell it to a pregnant girl? Why not, what I'm saying? The morals go away. So I think that's right. So I think me, myself, what I started doing with Ulan, we started having parenting classes. And also with Friends for Life and other resource centers that I'm a part of, violence interrupters, we want to deal with the problem. And it's like it states, violence interrupters. So we go out at night, we stop, the things from happening, whether it be a gun shootout, two people really getting into it. And just this year, we've already stopped it close to like 17, close to 20 different major incidents. You know what I'm saying? So let's get back to these phone lines, but I want you guys to feel free to call in. The number is 312-738-1060. That's 738-1060. And we'll listen to the views and the comments that you guys want to share. So caller, you're online with us. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say something with regard to your comments about crack cocaine. I mean, let's keep in mind that long before there was crack cocaine, there was powder cocaine, but that was the rich man's high. And crack cocaine was somebody's innovation with regard to how can I make a few dollars, because in the poor communities, nobody was spending $100, $200 to buy cocaine. That's something that you simply so how do I sell cocaine to people who have only $10 or $15, $20? Well, you turn it into crack. You turn powder cocaine into crack cocaine, which is something you smoke. You inhale it, and that breaks the blood-brain barrier very quickly. It hits your system very quickly. So you can get for $10, $15, $20 the high that would cost somebody along the North Shore $100.
But do remember, listen, caller, do remember that at that era, the unique thing about it was that, like you said, it was a poor man's, it was a rich man's high, poor man's dream. So when they dropped the price, because you used to have to go outside of the area, the neighborhood, to get powder. That was when, remember, it was in pony packs. I know the whole era because I was on the other side of the fence at the time before I changed my life. So at that moment, what happened was they filled the communities with it. They dropped the prices and made it accessible now for the average man in the community to get it. But go ahead, caller.
Right, exactly. And we have to, again, couple that with what else was going on in the community. And let's keep in mind that, this is during the 1960s and the early 70s, you saw a tremendous amount of flight by the middle class from urban America to cities like New York and Chicago and whatnot. So in other words, the middle class, including in this case, the African-American middle class, because this is the post-civil rights era, they were able to leave places like Chicago, move to better communities, and what was left in Chicago and poor communities, only poor African-American people. And in those communities where there was no longer the professional man, the doctor down the street, the lawyer down the street, there was no longer the intact family structure. Those individuals left that community because they could afford to go other places, and because of civil rights gains, they weren't precluded any longer from living in other neighborhoods. Again, leaving communities with no leadership, no mentors, a lot of single-parent families, single mothers.
The Black Panthers had faded out, and a lot of things happened. Now, Superfly came out, and everybody wanted to be, Superfly. It made it cool to be the man to sell drugs, because, again, nobody knew the aftermath of what was going to happen being on drugs like that.
Exactly.
Absolutely, and for those who study psychology, they know that young men, when they're growing up, a mother's a great thing to have, but at a certain point in your teenage life, you look for a male role model. You look for a mentor. And your mother can't be that for you. It would be wonderful if she could, but she can't. And if you don't have a father, you're going to turn to the guy on the corner. He's a drug dealer, he's a pimp, whatnot. He's going to end up being your mentor, your role model, and that, unfortunately, is the story behind why all too many young men who had a lot of potential ended up on the wrong side of the fence.
Exactly. It is a major thing. Thank you, caller, so much for calling in. We got to keep the show going, and everybody that calls in, we're going to listen as much as we can, because what you're saying is completely valid. That's what makes this show. So you guys keep calling in. That caller made some really good points. I think one of the biggest points is, and I'd like to get your feedback on this, how do you think, what really is a connection between a father figure and these young men out here? How important is that?
Well, as men, especially as older men, especially being a father, your job is to protect women and children. You know, it's all about being present. It's all about disciplining your child in a positive way to make sure that they completely understand. Like me, my father, he always got in my behind. Period. He was always getting in my behind. But me just being a son, I just got to thinking, like, I'm tired of hearing his mouth. I'm just tired of getting the whoopings every day, just going off at the mouth, do this and do that. But once you get tired of hearing the same things over and over, it makes you want to actually, just change. It makes you want to just change your lifestyle on how you live as a son or as a child, and having your mom and father there. But you got a lot of fathers that just be like, oh, that's probably not even my child. That's probably not even my baby. But, if we had more fathers to put down the dice and the guns and pick up their sons, man, we're unstoppable in the African-American community.
So let me ask you this, Lamon. What made you specifically want to become a community activist, or just somebody that cared, somebody that went out there and took their time to make a difference?
My father always told me, I was adopted 2 days after I was born. I was given to my aunt and uncle, so I just call them my father and mother. Everything he told me, the main thing he always told me, messing with the wrong people get you dead or in jail. And seeing my brothers experience the drugs and going to jail, getting incarcerated, and back and forth, just running away from the house, just doing stupid stuff. I looked at them and I said, you know what, I don't want to go down that path. And me being in school, being on the honor roll for 5 years in a row, did construction when I got in high school. I did construction because my dad did it. Because he was that role model for me. I said, you know what? Oh, he's doing something good. Why not? I set my own goal and do what he did, but do it 10 times better.
Wow. Okay. Well, listen, you heard it right here first from Violence Interrupters. That's the story behind Lamon.
Yes, sir.
Record.
Yes, sir.
Lamon
yes,
Record. And that's with 2 C's. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I pay attention. Yeah.
That's it.
So listen up. The phone lines are still blowing up. Let's go to another caller. Caller, you're online with us here at Violence Interrupters. You there, caller?
Yes, I'm here.
How you doing, caller? Go ahead.
I'm fine. I'm kind of like a personal friend of Lamon.
Oh, okay.
This is Catherine George. How you doing?
Hey.
Listen, Lamon, what would you say to, I have a 16-year-old daughter, and she wants to always go outside. What do you say is to her to influence her that all that violence, even though she experienced gun violence with other relatives that died, what would you keep on saying to her to say that that world is not safe, and to make her positive more about, getting involved with your organization, or getting involved more as we used to? We used to have peace marches and things for, with other organizations, but, now we don't. So what would you say to her to influence her to stop getting that craving of going outside?
All right. So first of all, really thank you, caller, for, calling in. Lamon, please address that. And bear in mind that a lot of younger people are listening too. So, come what you come on.
So just to expound on what you were saying, I want to say 2 things. One, you always want to have love, faith, and hope. Like, even when I walk these streets, I understand myself that it's not safe. It's not safe anywhere you go. People think just because you're downtown means you're safe. Just because you're in the mall, you're safe. No, anywhere you go, you're not safe. But it's always good to be mindful and think strategically, just to pay attention to your surroundings. Always pay attention to your surroundings. And if anything pops off, be that voice to say something. And that's another reason why we have a lot of young people down in the streets today, is that we see things and we don't say a thing. It's just like when people watch TV. That's why people say we got snitches. When you look, you're going to tell. They say TV for a reason. Television, when you look, that's your vision. Tell lie, going to tell you. When you tell, so how do you tell the truth or you lie? So that's why we got to have a lot of folks like her, especially being 16, just be just be mindful to your surroundings. Always pay attention. If you see anything pop off, be the first one to say something.
Right.
And two, when you said about the peace rallies and the marches, personally, me, I've been organizing behind the scenes when it comes to political and gun violence prevention, because when it comes to protesting and rallying, it's like, where is it getting us? Protesting. When are people going to come and sit at the table as a collective group, as people, as organizers and leaders, to say, we need to start writing policies, we need to start improving transparency and accountability in our police department? When are we going to speak up and say, we got more traffic cameras than police cameras?
Exactly.
It's time for us to speak up as the people and say enough is enough. And on top of that, if I'm not mistaken, only 26% of the killings in Chicago has been solved. 26% of the killers been solved. And I was saying early in the show, it's time for us to be mindful as the police behind many of the shootings in our city. Because I don't think it's just all of our young people gunning down each other. I just don't believe it. But to your 16-year-old Tiffany, just got to be mindful.
Okay, great insight. Let me add something real quick. As a parent myself with a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, I will say that sometimes you do have to kind of like put the foot down, so to speak. There is a line where you know ultimately what's best.
Right.
You know, my girls, you know what I'm saying, sometimes they could, you know, be a little upset if I say, well, and I don't want you going here or, you know, not there. But they know in their heart, kids are not stupid.
Oh, yeah.
They know that that's the actual best thing. It's just that they want to be out there. They want to, you know, be, you know, involved in whatever is on the streets. But they know that it's not safe.
Right.
So don't feel to be a martyr. Don't feel that you're being bad by saying no.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, your child is alive.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day,
you know,
you could sleep well. So don't feel bad about it. And that goes for any parent. The boys as well. You know, I have a young son too who's doing real well, and he doesn't know about the streets that much. I mean, he hangs on the streets, he does things on the streets, but he just doesn't make it his priority to be on the streets.
Exactly.
And one thing that I have to encourage him is whatever he's doing, I encourage it. You know, so if he's in the art program, if he's doing anything after school, anything like that, I encourage it. I tell him how good he's doing, point blank. Then I have another son who's basically, you know, the black sheep of the family, the oddball, and I try to reel him in and get him involved in ULON and different programs like Violence Interrupters and anything that we have going on in the streets that people are putting together. Find out. Go to these websites. Like I said, you can reach us at tohardiman.com. Very simple, www.tiohardiman.com. Or you can go to ULON, which is www.ulon.us, meaning us. You know, and we announce a lot of the things that are going on around the streets, you know, and where you can meet people and where people are like you that want something else for the children to get into. You know what I'm saying? Because there's not many resources. That's another thing that's kind of flanking us right now. There's hardly any resources out here for these young people to get into. So I'd like you to, if you got any closing, you know what I'm saying, comments, things you'd like to talk about real quick, you got the floor, Lamon.
Most definitely. Like I said, thank you so much for having me on the show today. For all you young people that's out there that's watching, I want you, like I said, I want you guys to be mindful and think strategically on what is it that you can do to make your life better, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to live your life for you. Nobody's going to get up and hand you a car for free, a house for free, money for free. You got to go out and make it happen yourself. If you know your father's not going to do it, if you know your mother's not going to do it, well, nobody else do it but you and God. And you got to ask God to fill your mind, heart, and soul with love, faith, and hope. It's time for us to come together collectively, not only as a community, not only as a city, but as people. At the end of the day, personally, me, I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 14, 2, 3, 9, 29, or 93. You still deserve respect because you're a human being. Same way with the police. The police isn't nothing without that badge. They're the same as us. They're human beings. So it's time for us to come together collectively and let's educate each other. Let's say, forget the system. We need to make our own system. If you got any questions or you want to get in contact with me, hit me up on Facebook. Lamon, Lamon Q RECCORD, or you can shoot me an email at RECCORDLAMON14@gmail.com.
All right, sounds good. So you heard it right here. I do appreciate you being on the show with us, brother. You know, it's one of my close friends, and he's always, you know what I'm saying, been on the up and up with me. That's why I keep him, you know what I'm saying, as one of my close guys. ULON, I want to say much love to Violence Interrupters. Thank you guys for coming in and supporting us. Next week, we're going to have another great show. We're going to have another good guest. We're going to keep you in wraps about that. But I want to just say much love to Friends for Life, Violence Interrupters, all my ULON cats out there in the street. If you guys see us out there, make sure you come up to us, man. Introduce yourself. and you know, we can really break bread and, you know, just basically talk
us.
about the things you want to talk about that will help your community out there. Again, go to www.tohardiman.com or www.ulon.us. We're part of Friends for Life. My boy, you know, Tom Doty, and all these other people that are out here trying to make change. You know what I'm saying? We love you guys, man, and love. See y'all